Welcome back. Today we're going to break down a really detailed lecture on the fifth and final chapter of the book of James. We're going to really focus on the speaker's core ideas about wealth, patience, and the power of prayer. Right out of the gate, the lecture hits us with this pretty provocative warning. Wow. It really sets the stage for a deep dive into what the speaker calls spiritual maturity in action. So yeah, let's get right into it. Okay, so we structured this around four main ideas from the talk. First, we'll tackle that warning about misusing wealth. Then, we'll look at what true patience looks like. After that, we'll explore the power of prayer. And we'll wrap up with this idea of restoring someone who has wandered off the path. All right, so first up, the lecture jumps into a topic that, can be really confusing for a lot of people. The whole relationship between faith and wealth. The speaker even calls it a major hazard for believers. This is the big question, right? And the speaker addresses it immediately. His point is that the Bible itself doesn't actually condemn having wealth. He's quick to say that being rich isn't inherently sinful, but, and this is a big but, it definitely comes with some serious hazards. So this is where he really clarifies that distinction. The argument is that the Bible isn't against wealth itself. He points to figures like Abraham and Job who were incredibly wealthy and righteous. No, the problem is how the money is acquired and how it's used. What gets condemned are things like fraud, hoarding it for yourself, and just living in selfish luxury while ignoring the needs of others. You've probably heard this before, and he really hammers this point home. The issue isn't the cash, it's the condition of your heart. The problem isn't the possessions, it's the greed, that covetousness that can so easily take root. And that's an absolutely crucial distinction to make. And this is pretty cool. The speaker pulls from his business background and brings in this financial concept, opportunity cost. He applies it to a spiritual context, and he's basically asking, hey, when we use our time, our money, our resources, are we even thinking about the eternal return on that investment? It's a real challenge to think past the here and now. So that leads us right into our second theme. We're shifting gears now from something external like money to an internal quality, patience. In fact, the speaker frames this as the core message of the entire book of James. This analogy he uses is just brilliant. Think about it. A farmer can't force the harvest to come faster. He has to do his part, right? He prepares the ground, he plants the seed, but then he has to wait. He has to trust that God will provide the rain and the growth. And this becomes the perfect model for what the speaker calls strategic patience. And here's the key. This patience isn't just about sitting around and twiddling your thumbs. No way. It's an active, hopeful waiting. It's an endurance that's totally focused on a future promise. And he says that when you have that focus, it makes all the decisions you have to make today so much easier. And to really drive this point home, he pulls out some classic examples from Scripture. You've got the prophets who suffered immensely, not just from outsiders, but from their own people. You've got Job, who lost everything but still trusted God. These are held up as the ultimate models of how to endure through unbelievable hardship. Okay, so we've gone from the internal posture of patience to the active practice of prayer. The speaker makes this great point. If the worst use of our tongue is things like gossip and lying, then what's its highest and best use? Prayer. You're going to see this number pop up a few times, 3.5 years. It's a key detail. Why? Because that's how long the drought lasted that the prophet Elijah is said to have started and stopped, all through earnest prayer. What's wild is that the speaker points out we only get that specific time frame right here in the New Testament. To get a sense of just how powerful prayer is meant to be, the speaker pulls out this incredible quote from an early church father. Prayer is the root, the fountain, the mother of 1,000 blessings. It's described as this inexhaustible treasure. Now, this is a really interesting practical point he makes. When it comes to praying for healing, the specific instruction in the text is to call for a group of church elders, a plurality. And the reason for this, he suggests, is to make it crystal clear that any healing comes from God's will, not from some special gift or power of just one person. And that brings us to the final section of the lecture, which unpacks the last few verses of the chapter. It's all about community and the responsibility believers have for each other when someone starts to go astray. Okay, here's a little language lesson that I thought was fascinating. The Greek word used here for erring from the truth is planeo. Does it sound familiar? It should. It's the root of our word planet. And originally, planet just meant a wandering star. So this idea of sinning is framed as a kind of spiritual wandering off course. How cool is that? So what's the whole point of bringing someone back? This is it. According to the speaker, the goal is not to judge them, not to gossip about them, but to actually actively save them from a destructive path and to cover their mistakes in love. Now, instead of just wrapping things up with a neat summary, the lecture ends with a challenge. It's like a final exam with a series of really direct, personal questions based on the whole book of James. They're designed to push you from just hearing the word to actually doing it. The first question is all about your impact on the people around you. It's a total gut check. Do your words and your actions tend to build people up or tear them down? Oof. From there, the questions turn inward, right to the heart of what you really trust in. When trouble hits, is prayer the very first thing you do, or is it what you try only after you've tried everything else and failed? And finally, this last question really brings it all full circle. When you see someone wandering off course, what's your gut reaction? Is it to criticize, to gossip, or is it to gently try and help them back? It's a really challenging final thought that kind of sums up the practical, feet-on-the-ground faith that this whole chapter is about.